Sybil Merrick is my name, and I've been married to her for 17 years. Long time. Long enough for habits to turn into patterns, and patterns to harden into silence. We did our usual things, like drinking coffee in the morning and different Netflix cues at night. It wasn't really cold, but it did cool us down. Had a life built like a porch swing, with known creaks, and some ropes that were frayed but still hanging. That Saturday morning was like most people. I walked into the kitchen in my robe and worn-out socks with a hole that wouldn't go away. The coffee machine behind me stuttered, and spat steam into the air, as if it didn't want to do its job. The grass outside was wet and shiny, and the old fountain ticked away like it spoke a language all its own. I forgot about it until I saw the picture. I wasn't even looking for it while I waited for the coffee to finish. I looked through my phone's alerts and didn't pay much attention because I was tired then. Facebook put it right at the top of my feed, as if it couldn't wait. It made my wife smile. Soft office lighting put her way too close to Trent, her work husband and the guy she joked about being the one. During boring Zoom calls, she said, "He's safe," and she rolled her eyes. "You're not really, are you, jealous?" he asked her. He had his arm around her shoulders like he'd done it 100 times before. She had her eyes tilted and her lips split in the middle, as if the camera had caught them in the middle of something private, something soft, something mine. The comment below said it all. My real partner #work is banned for life. My eye didn't blink, my heart didn't beat, and there was no dramatic gasp, or shaking in my hands all of a sudden. Just a slow, mechanical nothingness that spread through my ribs, like someone had opened them up, a hole in my chest, and quietly sucked the air out. There was no fear or shouting, just I walked back to the bar, where the smell of coffee was no longer filling the room. There was a clean, sharp line cutting through 17 years. I poured the coffee into the mug the way I always did, black with a splash of oat milk, and the steam hit me like a ton of bricks, got curled up toward my face, but I didn't take a sip. Instead, I opened the side box and took out Theon under the toaster where we kept things, because it was too hard to sort them into categories. Batteries, screwdrivers, and a broken pair of sunglasses in the beige box where I had printed the papers weeks before. Someone in me must have had doubts. Knew there were signs, the extra hours, the well-thought-out answers, and the way when I walked into the room, she had her phone screen turned down. There were little clues, like breadcrumbs, left behind, but they led me to put the folder on the kitchen table, where she usually put her purse to see if I'd follow. Through the window, hit it like a spotlight. There was no note, no dramatic climax. The facts were all I needed to hear. So I went back to the bar and picked up my phone right away. I opened Facebook and tapped into the comment box below her. While shaking, I took a picture and typed "Congratulations." The divorce papers are on the kitchen table, and I hit post without thinking twice. Drafts made a small bubble of energy rise in me. It wasn't anger. It was clarity, like the kind you get when you finally clean a mirror and see what's been staring back at you the whole time. I didn't stay. I put my phone face down on the counter, took the mug, and waited to see who would respond next, or if the likes would stop. Walked outside in the morning. It was bright, but in a quiet neighborhood way that made you forget that people had lied, that promises fell apart, and soft betrayals wore hashed. Now I pointed the yard hose at the rose bushes and let thy thought of 17. When I saw the water move slowly, and the earth taking it in without complaining. We laughed about the years, the holidays, the marriage, the burned Thanksgiving turkey, and more. I thought for months about how she cried when her mother died, and the first time she kissed my wrist instead of my lips. Thought of how she leaned into Trent and clung to me like I was the last stable thing in her world. He felt like he was at home as the water pulled through the grass and soaked the roots. Some kids in the neighborhood rode by on bikes. I kept watering my hand to steady my heart, even though I didn't need to, because the laughter sounded like it came from another world. Get ready for what? I would say when she got home. I wouldn't yell. I wouldn't demand an answer. And she'd turn into I wouldn't beg for something she'd already given to someone else in boardrooms and bar lounges. She said would keep watering the yard and let the world go on its way. She could look through her notifications and smile at. When she saw my loves and thumbs up, she knew what I had done, what I knew, and what I had waited to confirm. There wouldn't be a fight or a scene on the porch. There would only be the sound of her key not quite fitting in the lock. I thought she still owned it, so I changed the hose tip to make the stream softer for the lies she always loved. I almost laughed when I saw that they bought them every April for the kitchen table. After the coffee cooled, the folder was put away, and I stood in my sunrobe. As the wind blew, I kept my hand firmly on the hose. I wasn't broken or angry. I was finally awaked out that morning. She lost her husband. But I got more information when the call came at 7:42. I remember the exact time because I was in the middle of sorting my tax files, which was something I had been putting off for a while. Months. The soft hum of the ceiling fan circled above me, and a jazz mix played quietly from my laptop speaker. Careful. Then her name came up on the screen. Marbell. I heard it ring twice. 3 times. I didn't feel any heat in my chest. I just had a vague sense of interest. The phone rang again before I picked it up. I felt like someone was looking into a window of a life that didn't belong to them anymore. "Hey," she said, dragging out the word like sugar on her lips. I could hear her smiling through the line. High-pitched happiness she used when she knew she was wrong but wanted to calm. You down first, are you not really mad? She asked before I could answer. Ah, honey, it was a joke. Everyone does that double quote stuff on Facebook. It's safe there. It was the move where the manipulation ended. I didn't say anything because I felt a little innocent. I just leaned back in my chair and listened, letting her talk. Her words came out too quickly, like someone who was in a hurry to get away from a crime scene. They cost me. You know how some people post things like that. It's just office fun, Trent says. Because our team is so close, he's like a brother. People thought it was funny, so she laughed briefly. That almost made me feel desperate, but I think you're exaggerating. I could almost picture her walking somewhere, maybe outside the hotel or in her rental car, while biting her nail and looking at herself in the mirror, the rearview mirror every few seconds. Still dressed from the conference party she had been to, and still driving the SI, was going over a script in her head like a PR person trying to change the way a story is seen. And you know how people are on social media. Make things bigger than they are. I didn't even think about that before I wrote. You're mad that I tagged him after he said something funny. I should not have. I let a full beat pass long. Enough for her to fill it, if she wanted to, but she didn't. That alone told me she was looking for a way out. I told her evenly. Check the kitchen. The silence on her end was a different kind of loud, and I could picture her blinking in confusion. She thought I might be joking, and that I would say something silly next, so she could still have her way. What she said through this, over it, and around it in a softer, higher voice. What do you mean? I said it again. Check the kitchen again. Pause. Then the thin laugh came out. Wait, you're kidding, Silas said. You didn't really say that. Calm down, she told him. She was just a little unraveling. Her voice cracked at the end of the statement. Even though she tried to stay calm, I could hear her mind going over the possible outcomes, trying to settle on Theon that would move this talk toward safety. I didn't answer. I just leaned forward and hung up. Tried calling me back right away, but I turned them down right away. My phone kept buzzing, and then I got a message. Silas popped up. Please don't do this. It's not what you think. Can we just talk another bus? I'll be home Monday. Let's talk then. Okay. I turned off my phone. I looked at the wall blankly for a long time after that. Not because I felt bad about what I did. Not even happiness. Just a sense of having stepped out of time and was now watching the end of a long play that I started watching. In the last act, the curtains were drawing. I thought as it slowly shut, like silk sliding over an old truth. Think about how her fingers would feel, and the look on her face when she walked into the kitchen and saw the brown folder move. Your mouse over it before you open the flap to see how her eyes would scan the papers, the list of assets, and the division agreement. The lines that are signed talk about how the air might rush out of her chest, not from shock, but from awareness. Because deep down she knew this was going to happen, and it wasn't because of one picture or a hashtag. It was because somewhere along Thish stopped treating me like I was important, and I finally started acting like I did outside of I poured myself another drink as the sprinklers turned on again, and the sound of water arcing across the yard filled the air. I grabbed another drink, opened the back door, and stepped out onto the patio. The sky was getting darker, and the stars were just starting to show up, to peek out from behind the purple wash of evening. I sat down in the chair I had fixed up last